morning, everybody. I hope that you're well. Today is the second to last day in April, so only one more poem after this. So if you've been watching, thanks. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed doing it. Today I have another poem from the series that I'm working on around the Snow Queen, like I mentioned yesterday. And this is another poem that centers around one of the female characters that I had briefly mentioned yesterday, which is the robber girl that Gerda encounters about halfway through the story. And so she's kind of, she's not kind of, she is Gerda's opposite. So, where Gerda is sweet and kind and generous and forgiving and all of those things, this particular girl is characterized as spoiled and willful and, cruel to her sort of animal companions. What's interesting about it is that both girls seem to suffer from absentee parentism. Absentee parents. Is parentism a word? I don't know. Because Gerda doesn't really, the parents don't factor in. And the robber girl's mother there's like one line devoted to her in the book, and she's not a very nice person. So it's interesting how the two little girls vary or I guess diverge in their characterization. So this is called The Knife. I am cut from my mother beneath a blood moon that punctures the sky like a wound. My mother tells me my pale pruned fingers curled not around her breast, but the bone-carved handle of the knife that severed the cord to cast me out into a raccoon pelt that still smelled of dried oak leaves and river muck. My mother tells me the knife is her gift to me, not her milk or the sweep of her lips over my cheek, but to weaponize my body like a blade. She teaches me to watch for the flash of golden wheels among witches' fingers in the forest. She teaches me to trap wood pigeons in cedar cages, to pull their pin feathers to plump my pillows. She lures the reindeer with molasses-soaked grain, slips the brass ring around his neck, and he is mine forever. I tickle my blade along his throat in the evenings when I grow bored of watching my mother and her men drink round the fire. One day I will slit the beast's throat, soak the flagstones red. For now, I sleep under my pigeon cages, blanket barnacled in shit, my knife pressed to the pulse of my own soft throat. So that is my poem, The Knife. And it's a persona poem from this particular character's point of view. And as is the case with most fairy tales, and I think I had mentioned this yesterday, that I think the Snow Queen is better about this than many, but still the characterization of a lot of the main players in the story is pretty flat, or one-dimensional, I suppose. So for a poet, there's enough there to play with, but there's also, to sort of dig deeper, to examine. And I always find characters I've always liked a villain, and I've always found characters that are, do problematic things. It's fascinating to try and, figure out why they are the way that they are. And I think that this story is as much about relationships and the sort of the bridge between being a child and being an adult, because the last sort of paragraph in the Snow Queen, and I'm paraphrasing, but is essentially that, Gerda and Kai go through all of this, and, Gerda goes on this journey to find him. And essentially it is this story of her growing up. And when they return home safe, they're safe and they're together, but they're no longer children. And so it kind of, layers in nicely with some things I was talking about last week in terms of like, what do we exchange? She found her friend, but she sacrificed some things to do that. And then, and so did he. So it's an interesting story. I've clearly thought a lot about it. And we'll probably continue to think a lot about it. But I hope you're all well, and I'll speak to you soon.